This conference will now be recorded. This conference will now be recorded. This conference will now be recorded.
Good afternoon, students. Today in class we are going to discuss about different types of characteristics and performance of a hydrothermal power plant. And so we are different. We are separately we are finding that what is the performance of thermal power plant as well as a hydro power plant. Already we discussed in yesterday class what are the scheduling methods we are going to involve. So there are three certain steps we are going to different methods to involve the scheduling. So there are certain issues are there. We have to schedule in the units. We have to first of all measure the what is the performance of a particular unit and what is the condition of each and every device working in that condition. So the same thing, there is involving of different parameters. We are going to find that performance by categorize that is in the sense of characteristics. By using these characteristics, we can find that what is the performance of a particular unit in the general station. After that, we can go for scheduling. So that is the thing we are going to discuss in today's class. So these are the topics I'm going to explain you. One is input output characteristics, heat rate curve, and fuel rate curve. And these characteristics are says that what is the performance of a particular unit. Suppose in a generating station there are three units are there. Based on the demand, you have to scheduling that which unit has to generate particular load of power. So how we can schedule means by knowing these three parameters, that is the three characteristics. One is input output, heat rate curve, and fuel rate curve. Why especially these three alone means, suppose if we take input and output characteristics, if it for thermal power plant, the input is heat, the output is electric power from the generator. So based on that, you can get that what is the rate, what is the cost we are giving for generate input, and after output getting what is the income we are getting. So based on that, if it is profit or loss, like that we can find that. Similarly, heat rate curve. So at what amount of fuel will generate the heat, and that particular heat we can use for generating the electricity. Similarly, fuel rate curve. So fuel rate curve is especially importance in the hydro power plant. Why? Because based on the water availability, only we can generate the power, right? So at what condition? It means what is the flowing of water. Based on that, how much of power we can generate. So these three characteristics will give them a performance of a particular unit. Based on that, we can schedule them. Let me go for one by one. The first one is input output characteristics of a unit. So let me consider separately. One is thermal power plant as well as a hydro power plant. Here, the input is or input output characteristics is established as is gives them a relation between energy input that should be driving the system and getting the net energy output from the electric generator. Suppose let me take that hydro power plant. The input energy is nothing but the flow of water to the turbine, and output is electricity. But in the case of thermal power plant, the input is heat energy. That is and heat. What is the steam is entering to the turbine, and based on that, it will give the mechanical energy to the generator. Then it will generate the electricity. So here, the input to the governing unit, that is a generating unit, it is termed as a BTU. So here BTU is nothing but a British thermal unit. So it is important that. So here BTE is called as British thermal unit, and this unit is identified in that input of the thermal equipment like turbine like that, and it is also termed as kilocalories per hour. So what is the heat we are producing, and based on the heat the steam will be generated, and when the steam is flows on the turbine, then we can generate the power by using the generator. So this is the input parameters in the thermal unit. As well as for hydro, we can measure the input in the form of cubic meter per second. So these are the two input measurements in a thermal power plant as well as hydro power plant. So it is very important. So sometimes in competitions they will ask, what is the measurement of input in thermal equipment? So one is British thermal unit per hour. So British thermal unit is nothing but it is a measurement of steam in the form of heat or kilocalories per hour. Next, so both thermal and hydro, the output is same. So the output is measured in megawatts. Now there are several methods are in use establishing that input output curves. So if you know the input and the output characteristics, then you can easily draw the graph. Based on the graph, you can say that whether the particular device is working properly or not. So in this statistics here, the y-axis is taken as the input and x-axis is taken as the output. Now this characteristic should be calculated based on the three methods. One is performance testing, second one is determination from operating records, and third one is manufacturer guarantees. Based on the three data, we can categorize the input output characteristics of a unit. It may be a thermal power plant or hydro power plant. Now the first one is performance testing. Let me see how we can what is the procedure in performance testing and how we can draw the input output characteristics by performance testing method. See, the performance method is not economical way. Why? Because suppose if a unit have to if a unit have to check whether it is working properly or not. So at that time, there is a huge amount of losses will be occur. Why? Because the performance testing of checking compliance with manufacturer guarantee is performed in accordance with standard performance test course. Sometimes this type of performance is depends on that what is the guarantee checking compliance is given by the manufacturers. So manufacturers will give them certain parameters. What is the parameter? Means suppose if a motor, let me consider one motor. So the motor capacity is 5 kilowatts power. So for that 5 kilowatts, you can check that. So whether it is working or not properly based on the given input. So the input voltage 230 volts and the current is something. So based on the input parameters, whether the motor should be capable to deliver this load or not. So it should be checked by the the ratings are given by the manufacturers. So based on that, you can get the performance. If it is not giving this much of load, then you can easily say that it is not working properly. And next one is the primary objection to performance testing is its high cost. Suppose if you take the thermal power plant, let me take any one unit. If you want to fund the that unit performance, you should have to run that. So if you run that, if you want to run the one unit, it needs coal and boiler operation, turbine operation, and requires some special instruments for measuring the parameters and labor works. So these are not requirement. So just for performance only, it requires that much of cost. It is not convenient. It is not good way. So that's why the performance testing is not applicable for different categories. So where there is not possible to running the unit without any load schedule. So that is the condition here. Next, later item can be quite appreciable for large base load. If it is belong to the large base load, then there is appreciable for testing. Why? Because you should have to satisfy this load. At that time, we can run the unit by using these all parameters. Next, method 2 is if you are, this type of performance testing is compulsory for this type of power plants. Why? Because if there is any problem is occurred in the performance, we can't able to rectify easily. So it may cause huge damage. So that's why this type of power plants, oil or gas, any industries, it's compulsory requires that performance testing. So in that the performance after performance testing, there are the calculations is done by British Thermal Unit content, that is heat content of the fuel consumed. It means that what how much of fuel is required for getting this requirement of that parameter. So these are the two methods we are using in performance testing. So performance testing is not compulsory at all conditions where large base load is required. At that time, we need performance testing, and same time where we have to check the performance for oil and gas based industries or power plants, there is a necessity of performance. So by using this performance test, we can draw the input output characteristics. Based on that, we can identify that how it will be performing. Next one. Optimal operation of generation thermal units. So I already said that optimal is nothing but the better way with low cost. So it means what is the meaning of this heading means optimal operation of generating of generator thermal plants is nothing but suppose you have to schedule a 3 units in a power plant. You should have to know that what is the performance of each unit. Then only you can schedule that which one has to deliver the more load and which one has to deliver to less load based on that. So based on the performance, you can schedule that. So that is you are going to know here. And one more thing, that the power generation from the power plant, it includes the different types of criteria. One is there is a labor cost is included, maintenance cost included, and only thing is for simplicity the fuel cost is considered for the variable. Suppose if we take labor cost and maintenance cost, it should be constant. But when compared to the fuel, it is variable. Why? Because it is keep on going to vary its rate and the storage availability like that. So in among these three, the fuel is an variable. Next, the fuel cost is meaningful in case of thermal and nuclear. So if you want to make a cost of a power plant, there is a fuel cost considered in thermal as well as nuclear. But in the case of hydro, it is meaningful. It's not meaningful. Why? Because the water is free of available. So we don't want to buy from somewhere. So that is the thing. So in the cost point of view, the fuel is considered for only thermal and nuclear, and the fuel cost is not considered in the hydro station. After this performance, we will get the graph like this. So let me see that here I already said the input will be taken in the y-axis and output in the taken in the x-axis. Here the input is always represents in the cost oriented. It means that per hour how much of how much of power is generated with how much of cost. It means that the cost per hour for a 1 hour generation, how much of cost it will be required. Next, the output is megawatt, that is the power, electrical power. So if you see this graph, the both are related to in directly proportion. So both are increasing linearly somewhat. Why? Because the amount of power should be directly proportional to that. What is the cost we are keeping that in power plant? So it is directly related to the cost. We have to generate the more power, we have to spend the more money. So that is the thing. So based on this graph, our electrical engineers should use them. What is the rate of cost they have to sell? Based on that, they will get the profit. Otherwise, they will get loss. So this is the way of optimal operation in the thermal units. Next, incremental heat rate curve. So incremental heat rate curve, this type of characteristics they are using in the thermal power plant. Why? Because if you take a block diagram for this governing system, here the generator is coupled with turbine, and how turbine will be run based on the steam flow on this. So the steam should be depends on that how much of heat will be generated in the boiler. Due to that, the steam will be converted and will then run the turbine. So it means that here the input is steam and the output is electricity. So steam in the sense heat rate. So how much of heat we are generating, producing, that much of steam will be generated. So that's why we are we have the graph between incremental heat rate and output. Why incremental heat rate means the heat energy should be not constant, so it is keep on changing based on our power requirement. So if we want to more power, we have to produce the more heat, then only steam will be increased, the turbine will get more speed. So this incremental fuel rate should be given by this formula, that is differentiation of input divided by differentiation of output. So I already said, if you want to find one of any parameter for the maximum value, we should differentiate that. So for example, if we take in a transformer, for getting the maximum efficiency, we have to differentiate. So that's why for getting the maximum value, that is increment value, we have to differentiate input as well as output. Here input output should be in the quadratic equation, that is already I shown in last class. So how the quadratic equation be? So based on that quadratic equation, if you differentiate these values, then you will get what is the incremental fuel rate at each cycle. Suppose in this point there is some value, so based on the different places, different points, we are going to solve like this. And by calculating the slope of the characteristics in figure, at every point the incremental heat rate curve can be obtained. So this is the one method. Otherwise, by calculating the slope, so already you did in the open characteristics of generator, that is magnetizing characteristics. If you find this slope values, then you can get that incremental fuel rate. This characteristics in fact tells about the thermal efficiency of the unit. So this characteristic shows that what is the capacity of thermal, that is steam, will be generated in the particular unit. Based on the steam only, right, we can generate the maximum power. So that is the comparison of here, that is input and output. So this graph is called as incremental heat rate curve. So this is the one of the important characteristics to decide the performance of a particular unit. Next. So this is the input output operational characteristics of a thermal plant. So it is the overall characteristics. So the overall efficiency of thermal units is determined by measuring the heat input and electrical energy output. So based on these two parameters, we can get the idea about how it will be performing. So that is called as input output characteristics of a thermal power plant. And next one is the input output curve for it is efficient unit develops a given amount of power with lesser fuel input. Suppose if you see here, if the graph is should be like this. Suppose, so if the graph is like this, it says that this unit will be working with less fuel and getting the more energy. It means that it's performing very good. So if the graph should be comes like this, means the performance should be keep on going to decrease. Why? Because here the input will be more and the output will be less. So it says that the based on the input, how it will work, and finally it will says that what is the performance of a particular unit. And if the graph should be like this, so if you consider this graph, its performance will be better, and we can schedule this unit for a maximum load demand. Next one is, so previous one is thermal power plant, and this one is input output operation characteristics of a hydro power plant. Now, so in thermal power plant we are using the input is heat rate. So what is the heat we are producing, that based on the heat the steam will be generated. But in the case of hydro, it is completely depends on the storage capacity. So based on the storage capacity only we can generate the power. So the storage and one more thing, storage capacity, and in some days, in summer days, we have to pump the water from down area. From down area to reservoir, we have to pump. So that is the one of the most one of the factor we are considering the cost. And next one is agriculture requirement and cost of running the plant during the dry season. Like this means in summer season, if you want to run the hydro power plant in summer season, the water availability will be less. So what we have to do, we have to pump the water from the some areas, some downwards, that is pumped storage system. So for pumping the water, it requires some cost. So that additional cost also we have to include in this input. So that cost input and finally we'll get the output, right? So that when compared to these two costs, so then we can find that what is the performance of a particular unit. So that is the parameters are involved in the hydro power plant. So every power plant characteristic should be taken like this. So y-axis you have to take input and x-axis you have to take the output. Next. So this is the most important topic in from question, that is incremental fuel cost curve. Suppose what is the information you are going to get here is, suppose they will give the maximum load demand for a particular generating station. So you should have to schedule that demand within the units. Before the scheduling, you should have to know that what is the performance of a particular unit and what is the what we have to give the fuel input and how much we can get. Like that, you have to know that. So for that calculation, it needs that incremental fuel cost curve. Now this cost curve should be given this obtained by this formula, that is incremental change in input and incremental change in output. It means that we have to find this value each interval. So previous value and this value gives the incremental change in input as well as incremental change in output. So by calculating the shape of input output curves at various points of operation, the profile of IFR, that is incremental fuel rate, can be obtained. So this is the graph we can obtain by characterizing that incremental fuel rate. So this is y-axis is the input, that input is belongs to the incremental fuel and output is power, that is in megawatt. Now if you see here graph, if you observe the graph, so without any losses, the line should go without any changes occurring in the input as well as output. The line should be goes to linear. But in present condition, the load should not constant. It is keep on going to change. So at that condition, you will get the curve like this. That is in parabol shape. So when we obtain that, after, so we have to calculate that starting, that is minimum value and maximum value. If the value between these two regions is called as incremental change in input as well as output. Based on these two values, we can find that incremental fuel rate. And this input output curve of a unit can be expressed in million kilocalories per hour directly in terms of rupees per hour. So generally, we have to express input as well in terms of kilocalories per hour as well as rupees per hour. Why? Because if you know the how much of cost you are spending the particular power generation, then only you can get right. You can get idea whether you are getting the profit or lose. So that's why the input parameters should be expressed in terms of rupees. So then only you can get that idea about how it will be performed. So if the performance will be more, you will get less loss, and cost economically it is better when compared to the others. So this is the way of finding that incremental fuel cost curve. Now we will show you one derivation how we can find that cost for a particular unit. So this is the most important question for 10 marks. So if you see, if you observe the previous question papers, 85% this question will be asked. So the derivation of problem based on this derivation. Now our aim is we have to find the incremental cost what is happen in the generating station. So let me tell you, before the going to derivation, I will give you an example for this. Suppose a generating station consists of a two units, and the two units input will be indicated by the C1 and C2. So C1, C2 can be so here C1 and C2 is called as a incremental cost of a unit. So see here, an analytical expression for the operating cost of a generating station can be written as CI. CI is nothing but a cost for CI is nothing but a number of units and C is cost. So here rupees per hour at output of power generated in unit 1. So suppose we have two units, that is PG1 and PG2. So here C1 represents the cost happening in the PG1 and cost is happening in the PG2. Now by using this derivation, what we can find means what is the scheduling of PG1 and PG2, at the same time what is the total cost of the generating plant. So we can, by using this derivation, we can find that what is the scheduling of PG1 and PG2. So how it means, suppose they will give two equations, that is C1 and C2, and they will give the equation quadratic form, and they will ask that for 800 megawatt power demand, how we can schedule this demand within the 2 units. After that, what is the total cost for generating the particular amount of power. So this type of problems you will get in the exam based on this topic. So see here, the cost of incremental cost should be denoted by C, capital C suffix I. Here C is represents the cost and I represents the number of units. Suppose if the power plant consists of 2 units, then I is equals to 1, 2. 3 means 1, so based on the number of units you can indicate that I. So the suffix I denotes that the unit number. Now in generally, so the cost should be represented in the form of second order polynomial equation, that is Ci is equals to AA plus BA Pj plus Ci Pj square. So in some authors can represent alpha, beta and gamma. So this is the quadratic equation in terms of incremental cost for the each unit. Suppose if it is equation for unit 1, then you can represent C1 is equals to A1 plus P1 Pg1 plus C1 Pg1 square rupees per hour. So this is the cost equation for unit 1. Similarly, unit 2, unit 3, like that. Next, so if you want to find that incremental, that is maximum value, what we have to do, we have to differentiate. So we have to differentiate this equation with respect to power, that is power generation. Then you will get that incremental value. See, the slope of the cost curve, that is dCi by dPgi is called as incremental fuel cost. So this is the equation we have to obtain. So this the incremental cost is obtained by that differentiation of second order polynomial cost equation for a particular unit. Then only we can get that incremental cost equation. So this is the equation is called as incremental fuel cost. Suppose if you differentiate this equation like this, what you will get? Bi plus 2Ci Pgi. So this is called as incremental cost equation and it is denoted by lambda. So this is normal cost equation and it is incremental cost equation. Just remember that. So when it is the equation in quadratic second order quadratic form, it is a normal second order polynomial equation of cost. And when it is differentiation with respect to PGI, then it is called as incremental fuel rate. So we have to use this equation for obtaining the scheduling. And the units of this incremental fuel cost is rupees per megawatt hour. So units are so important. This units I will ask in the exam. So what is the units of incremental fuel cost? So you have to answer it. Rupees of megawatt hour. See, after, so they will in a problem they will give equation like this. After this equation, we have to differentiate that equation particular PG1, PG2 like that. So after that we will get the equation like incremental fuel cost. So next what we have to do means, see, if the cost is approximated as a quadratic equation, see, it means that when it is differentiate, then you will get BI plus 2CA PJ. So that is called as incremental cost and it is denoted by the lambda. So this is the notation of a incremental fuel cost. So after differentiation of equation 1, you will get equation like this, and this equation is given by the incremental fuel cost. A linear relationship, better accuracy increment. So if you did like this means you will get the linear relationship, and this relationship will give the better accuracy. And this type of methodology we can use for the short line segment. It means that short time intervals. Suppose if for a day we have to you had scheduled in 3 intervals, then we go for like this method. And so some authors they can indicate that instead of a they will indicate alpha, beta and gamma. So this is the cost equation for the unit, and this is the incremental fuel cost equation for the particular unit. And there is a one condition is there. What is the condition is, so suppose if you want to find that economical condition, economic load scheduling. So what we have to do means we have to equalization of all cost units. Suppose uh, if uh, if there is a 2 units are there in the power plant, what so that is incremental cost of a unit 1 is lambda 1 and lambda 2. So this is the equation we obtained from the cost equation 1 and equation 2. For obtaining the economical load scheduling, what we have to do means we have to equate lambda 1 as well as lambda 2. Then only we can obtain the economical load scheduling. So this is about different characteristics and performance to obtain the load scheduling of a power plant. So till now you have any doubts in this topic? So next we are going to do one problem on this. Do you have any doubts up to here? Right. So all of you note on this problem. So everyone having the book with you, book and calculator. So everyone note on this question. That is the fuel cost of 2 units are given by C1 and C2. So C1 is equals to 1.5 plus 20 Pg1 plus 0.1 Pg1 square rupees per hour. Similarly, C2, it means that that particular generating station having the 2 units. So the C1 is represents the cost of a unit 1 and C2 is represents the cost of equation unit 2. After that, if the total demand on the generators is 200 megawatt, find the economical load scheduling of 2 units and find total cost. See here, you don't know what is the maximum capacity of this generation unit. So you have to, but you know only the total demand on the power station. So out of this 200, what is the power can generated by the unit 1 and what is the power can generated by the unit 2? You have to schedule them. So how we can schedule means first these two equations are cost equations. If you want to find that incremental cost, what we have to do, we have to differentiate C1 and C2 with respect to PZ1 as well as PZ2. So do first one. So differentiate C1 with respect to PG1. What you will get? 20 plus 0.2 PG1. So this is the incremental cost equation of a unit 1. Similarly, for unit 2, you will get 30 plus 0.2 Pg2. So these are the two incremental equations for the unit 1 and unit 2. Next, so just see this sentence. Find the economical load scheduling. So I already said for obtaining the, so this is represents lambda 1 and it is represents lambda 2. So based on that, how we can calculate that PG1 and PG2? how we can calculate Pg1 and Pg2. See, already they given here for economical load condition. What we have to do? We have to equate λ1 and λ2. So what is the equation obtained λ1 from λ1? 20 plus 0.2 Pg1 equals to 30 plus 0.2 Pg2. So let's consider this equation 1. Now here they given that total demand, that is 200 megawatt. So that is Pg1 plus Pg2 equals to 200 megawatt. Now this is represents equation 2. So by solving these two equations, find Pg1 and Pg2. So by solving equation 1 and equation 2, find what is the value of Pg1 and Pg2. అస్మిత చేస్తున్నారమ్మా?
ఎస్ సార్ చేస్తున్నాను సార్.
రైట్. భాగ్యలక్ష్మి
చేస్తున్నాను సార్.
So I need Pg1 and Pg2. So when you add both values, you have to get 200 megawatt. వెంకటేష్ 18
సార్
చేస్తున్నావా?
ఎస్ సార్.
రైట్. Find it fast. So what is the value of Pg1 and Pg2? Right. Answer came. What about remaining? Tejaswini. See, if you solve this equation, you will get two values, that is Pg1, Pg2 is. So you will get Pg1 is 125 megawatt and PG2 is
75.
75 megawatt.
75, sir.
All right. So if you add these two, so this is called as scheduling. So out of demand, which plant has to generate more power and which has to generate less power. And this type of scheduling we can find based on that these two equations. So this two equations is nothing but how the performance are working in the particular unit, right? So now we are clear about this, right? After finding this, how we can calculate the total cost? So total cost is nothing but C is equals to C1 plus C2. Now substitute Pg1 and Pg2 in this equation, then add these two equations. Then you will get the total cost of the unit. That is power plant. Find the total cost now. What is the total cost? So this type of problems you will get in semester exam. So do carefully. Asmita, మీకు స్లైడ్ కనపాలదమ్మా?
ఇప్పుడు కనిపిస్తుంది సార్ నెట్వర్క్ ప్రాబ్లం.
రైట్. సో ఫోన్ లేదండి. See, after finding these two values, we had to draw the graph like this. So I will show you graph. So this is the graph we had to draw after finding the PG1 and PG2. See here, here you are taking the input here, that is incremental cost, that is lambda here, and you are taking x-axis as a power output. After that, you got two values. One is 75, other one is 125. So these are the two values we obtained that power. That is the 75 is power obtained by the power unit 2 and 125 is power obtained from the unit 1. So after that you have to take that constant values. For unit 1 it has the 20. So see in equation 1. So that is C1 is equals to 1.5 plus 20. So this is called as alpha, that is incremental fuel cost. And for this for second equation it has the 30. So after that you have to draw like this. So where these two lines are touching at the common point, then that region is called as incremental fuel cost, that is lambda. So this is the way you have to draw the graph after finding the PG1 and as well as PG2. So this point is nothing but the incremental cost of unit 2, and this point is nothing but the incremental cost of unit 1. So this type of, this is the one of the method in problem in a fuel incremental fuel cost. So there is one more problem is there. I will tell you in tomorrow class. So are you clear about this problem? So this is the first part in the unit 1. So up to this type of problems and this type of characteristics, it belongs to the unit 1 first part. Second part is nothing but it is belongs to the generating limits or loss limits like that. So if I will tell you on problems tomorrow, then the first part is over from first unit. So what is the total cost you obtain here? $6,315.9. What about it is right or not? Others? Whether 631.59 is correct or not? Wait, I will check and tell you. So for PG1 is 125 and for PG2 is 75. So answer is 6878.4. So the right answer is 6878.4. So that is the total cost. మా పావని ఒకసారి చెక్ చేసుకోండి.
Okay,
So
sir.
your answer is not correct.
Okay, sir.
So this is the problem. It's depend based on the incremental fuel cost curve. Manjanvalli.
Yes, sir.
What is the observation of BTU?
British thermal unit, sir.
Right. అయితే క్లాస్ వింటున్నారన్నమాట అయితే భారతనాయుడు. సో చేశారు ప్రాబ్లం అందరూ. టోటల్ కాస్ట్ వచ్చిందా? సో టైమ్ ఈస్ గోయింగ్ టు ఎండ్. Everyone append the total cost value. Right. So this is the first method in the incremental fuel cost. I will tell you second method in tomorrow class. So now class going to end it up. Thank you.